Welcome. Welcome, everyone. It's Angelo Robles. This is live for those of you watching it live on a Sunday night about 8:30. NFL football for us Americans is, well, it's not come to an end. There's Sunday night football, but my Giants have done playing. The usual outcome, a loss, but wait till next year. But I have something I've been working on that I wanted to share. Structural blindness, the hidden cost of operating your family office in isolation, but whether it's a single family office, a multi-family office, a financial firm, a business, this is going to apply and be a lot more comprehensive. In titles, I'm somewhat limited, but during the program, if you want to call it that, I could let it rip. Some announcements at the end as we head into an awesome week. But on that note, shall we begin? Structural blindness, the hidden cost of operating your family office in isolation. Kind of really pattern recognition versus isolation, and my experience around the world, how elite family offices and really businesses operate. I think that billion-dollar families are kind of abandoning what I call the fortress model. So I'm going to start with something maybe a little uncomfortable. Right now, there are family offices and again, businesses making decisions at 10 times, maybe more, your velocity, with often half the team and better outcomes. It's not because they're smarter. It's because they stopped operating from a position, per my title, of structural blindness. Everyone, I'm Angelo Robles. I have 20 years, God, I'm that old, inside kind of the command center from hundreds of incredible families. And tonight, I want to show you exactly what I mean by structural blindness and give you the frameworks that you could maybe begin to implement as soon as tomorrow to begin the week, and tell you about the room where families and family offices are actually solving this and where they're gathering. So let's go. As the young ones say, let's go. Section one, the structural blindness problem. Here's what nobody tells you about running a family office. You're making 7, 8, 9-figure decisions with information asymmetry that would terrify you if you could actually see it. So think about it. Not to go down the negative road, but only for a second. Your advisors, some have conflicts, sometimes just built in, structural. They're optimizing for sometimes their benefit, not always your outcome. Your peers, well, do they really talk openly if they're awesome and doing great things? There's a lot of ego, a lot of privacy theater, and a lot of competitive posturing. Even your family, blind spots effectively everywhere. Generational biases, legacy thinking, emotional complexity layered on top of capital complexity. So you're essentially reverse engineering what could be billion-dollar systems from incomplete data and maybe making it worse in complete isolation. So, what does this cost you? Missed opportunities. I mean, those are real, not just inefficiencies, although those you'll find will compound as well. What it costs you is really what I call pattern recognition. Now, maybe my section two, the pattern recognition gap, kind of an intellectual framework. So now we're getting into things. Let me explain what I mean. When I work with a family office, the first thing, or among the first things I do, as I run them through, I know this sounds torturous, what I call the kind of 850 questions framework. We're going to talk a little more about that later. It's not an audit, it's a diagnostic. And it really does map, I've been working on it for 20 years, 5 critical systems. 1, governance, or really governance architecture, how decisions actually get made, not how they're supposed to get made according to your family charter, how they actually happen when there's urgency, when there's disagreement, and when there's succession pressure. All things that kind of happen all the time. 2, I'm going to buzz through these relatively by my standards quickly. Capital allocation. Where's your money actually flowing? Where's the map to this? Not the allocation on paper, but the real movement, deal flow, co-investments, direct holdings, manager relationships. How about fee structures? Kind of the whole ecosystem going through that. 3, very important, talent and capacity systems. Who does what? Why? Whether that still makes sense or not. Whether you're building institutional knowledge or just kind of plugging gaps. Whether your team can scale, or how about your team in some family offices, including MFOs, you're one key departure away from what could be chaos. 4, information architecture, how intelligence moves through your system, what gets surfaced, what gets buried. We all have that. What decisions are made with real-time data, making better decisions versus gut feel and possibly outdated assumptions. And 5, succession and continuity frameworks. Much deeper than just estate planning. I'm really talking about knowledge transfer, decision-making authority, next-gen, rising-gen activation, the difference between a dynasty and a trust fund that runs out in 2 generations. Now, here's one thing about this diagnostic. One family, well, many families have done it, but one family ran it, Texas-based, actually a very sophisticated family office with a great team. They found, effectively $8 million in leakage, not frauds or mistakes, just structural misalignment. Fee structures that made sense with advisors, accountants, legal, and others, even some internally 5 years ago. Redundant service providers, happens all the time. Reporting systems that cost more than they delivered, happens like 100% of the time. Small inefficiencies that it's hard to see from the inside. Your nose is too close to the action. You can't always see the forest through the trees. And it's a thankless job in many family offices. But one diagnostic, a couple of weeks, 8 million recovered, if I may say so. So here's what's more important actually than the 8 million. They couldn't see it themselves. Not because they weren't smart. Actually, like I said, they're kind of brilliant. But they're operating, even a excellent single family office is often operating from inside effectively a closed, a siloed, a single system. In some of my show notes, we'll call this section 3, the cross-system intelligence advantage. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The families that compound across generations, really true dynastic families, they figured something out. They stopped trying to optimize in isolation. Because when you only see your own system, you don't know what world-class may look like. You don't know if your deal evaluation process is really actually that fast or slow. You don't know if your governance structure is elegant or bureaucratic, often a flip of a coin, being generous. You don't know if you're overpaying for talent or actually underpaying, more common, and creating retention risk. You're optimizing, but against what benchmark, what real best practices, and of course my favorite, which is really independent for each office and really each company, is breaking things down to their barest essentials, which is first principles thinking. When you can see across 50, 70, 100 family office systems, you start to see some patterns. You see that families with the cleanest succession transitions, they all did something specific with their G2 during their 30s. It's often not in any white paper, but it's consistent. You see the office with the best deal flow, they structured their co-investment networks in a very specific way. Not often louder or bigger, they're just structured differently. You see that families that avoided, which is very hard to do, the bureaucracy trap, where the family office becomes more expensive and less effective. Again, every year, certain family offices become more expensive and less effective every year. They made specific design choices around decision rights and what I would call information flow to identify that. Now that goes back to what I said in kind of my subtitle. This is pattern recognition you literally cannot access in isolation, especially so in the single family office community. Now, it creates what I could call decision arbitrage. My section 4, the AI transformation reality. Now, let me give you another framework, because there's a transformation happening right now that's kind of creating a two-tiered system among family offices. And MFOs, you're right there in this problem as well. And most principals or founding partners don't even see it yet. I'm talking about AI deployment. No, not ChatGPT for emails. I'm talking about real, properly structured AI sovereign systems and AI agents. Eventually, AI's got to do more than chat. It's got to actually do things. Now, this can fundamentally change the capacity equation, as I call it. A traditional family office scales linearly, of course. You want more analysis, hire more analysts. You want more coverage, get more people. You want more deals, get more bandwidth. But there's a small group, and it's small. It's like 1% to 2%. A small group of family offices who figured out how to scale exponentially. Maybe I had a little bit to do with it. They deploy the right AI agent frameworks that let effectively a 10-person team operate with the analytical capacity of a 100-person office. Now, no, this is not going to be a hyper deep dive into AI and AI agents. It's much deeper than that. So here's what most people do miss, because it really is more than just about deal flow. What I just discussed really is transforming everything. And I think now that I think about it, I do have to do maybe a little deeper dive on this, even if you heard parts of it before. So the private deal flow, like, I think is pretty obvious. Like a sophisticated, non-technated, but strategic family offices deploying what I call an AI augmented deal flow system. Traditionally, deal evaluation could take weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Full analysis, market comps, risk assessment, financial modeling, due diligence, synthesis. Now, like, imagine cutting that back by a multiple to say 6 days with the same team, because I think they're awesome. They just need more of these resources. Same rigor, actually better rigor, because the AI caught patterns that maybe a team would miss, because AI could work 168 hours a week. Now you're getting kind of 10 times the velocity. Imagining your people doing the really important work there, but the initial screening AI could handle. processing hundreds, thousands of opportunities, flagging the 10% worth human attention, data synthesis, pulling comps, market data, financial histories, regulatory filings, pattern recognition. That appears to be a key word tonight. This deal structure looks like these from your portfolio that worked really well. Here's what's happening. Or kind of the opposite, risk flagging, surfacing red flags the team used to catch, but it may take until week 4. Now imagine catching it on day 1. Now the team could focus on real judgment calls, relationship building, strategic vision, and here's where humans in this example are wickedly powerful, complex negotiations. But don't think, because I think a fair amount of my examples maybe are too much so dedicated only to what seems to be the private markets. There's much, much more to it. The public markets, public portfolio, traditional approach, your investment team monitors positions, quarterly reviews, maybe monthly if there's extra volatility. They're reading research, tracking macro, watching for catalyst, but they're human, limited bandwidth, maybe 40 hours a week, but not 168. They can maybe, depending on the size of the team, deeply track 20, 30 positions. But an AI augmented approach, well, that's different. Imagine real-time price action and volume anomalies that could be picked up, again, partially due to data and pattern recognition. Earnings transcripts, that's where I've also used it. Not just the summary, but every word, the sentiment analyzed against historical patterns. Regulatory filings, SEC documents, insider transactions, material changes, macro correlations, how their positions actually behave when rates move, when oil spikes, when credit spreads. Competitive intelligence, that's what's happening with competitors, suppliers, customers. I mean, it surfaces your thesis on this position just broke. Here's why. Here's the data. 1 second. Their investment team, in this example, your investment team goes from being reactive to predictive. They're not finding out about risk when everyone else does. They're seeing pattern breaks before they become headlines. Again, same team size, multiple times, 3x, 5x, 10x the coverage. Now, here's where I think the investing end, a fair amount of you get. Angela, we hear you talk a fair amount about AI, sovereign AI, and about correlating that it's got to actually do things. And that's where AI agents come in. Again, I agree with you. It's got to go well beyond chat to actually do things. But it's doing it now when you guys to start using it. Let's talk about operations. Now, that's the invisible multiplier. Now, that's unglamorous work that probably takes up about 40% of your team's time. Reporting, consolidating data from multiple, who knows, maybe 12 different custodians, 3 fund administrators, multiple direct holdings, compliance, monitoring regulatory changes across many jurisdictions, vendor management, tracking contracts, renewals, performance metrics. How about family communication, preparing board materials, monthly updates, investment summaries? This is all kind of high cost to you and kind of really low value work. And let's face it, like, your people hate it. And if you're the person doing it, you know you hate it. But I get it. It kind of has to get done. So now watch what happens with the right integration. I'm not saying out of the box Chinese agents. No. What happens with the right AI agents, automated reporting? The system pulls data from every source, reconciles it, flags discrepancies, and generates reports. Your team reviews and approves. What took 3 days now took 3 hours. And you think that your current tech advisors, if you have them, even family office centric, they don't know what they don't know, their ego, their ignorance, and the fact that they just want you to stay status quo, what works for them. Back to it. Compliance monitoring. AI tracks regulatory changes in real time. New rule drops in the EU. You get a breakdown of what it means for your structure, what entities are impacted, what actions are required or recommended at least. What would have required outside counsel and weeks now surfaces could be immediately. Vendor intelligence, the system monitors. There's a way to do this. I've done this. I know. Your service providers, contract terms, performance benchmarks, market rates, your prime broker's fee structure is now 40 basis points above market. Well, poof, here are 3 different alternatives. You could, imagine redeploying 35% of your operational capacity, your talent, to real strategic work. Same headcount again, but a completely different output. So in these workflows, I could describe what I call as kind of a hidden transformation. And among the things I'm describing, this is probably the lowest hanging fruit. Now, it gets interesting when it comes to workflows. How information actually moves through your organization. Traditional family office information flows through people. Someone reads something, they think it might be relevant, they what? Email someone else, that person reads it, maybe moves forward, maybe it gets discussed in the next meeting, or I don't know, this never happened. Maybe it gets just lost, forgotten about, other things kind of get in the way. Critical intelligence moves at the speed of kind of human attention, which means it moves relatively slowly. And yes, me as well, inconsistent, data driven, technical, boring. Not going to be a high IQ person is not going to be motivated and moved by this. It becomes mundane. An AI augmented office, information flows through an architecture. And again, like I've said maybe a million times the last 6, 7 months, really not that hard. The system continuously ingests market data, news flow, research reports, portfolio monitoring, risk signals. Like I'm doing something now with PitchBook, tying it into varying programs and agents that I use and insight that I'm getting on co-investments, deal flow, opportunities. Like, wow, like it's so worth it. I wish may not have been really available a year ago. So imagine routing intelligence to the right person at the right time with the right context. Family office investing in commercial real estate. Imagine significant exposure there. The AI agent monitoring macro notices cap rates in your market are inflecting. Here's the data. This impacts your 3 largest holdings. Based on historical decision patterns, you typically reposition when this happens. Do you want a full analysis? Like having that information at your fingertips so your incredible people aren't burdened by the mundane and could be, again, the areas I gave earlier, more strategic. Now, your team didn't have to ask for this. The system knew what matters to you and or that team member. It saw the pattern. It surfaced the decision point. That's way more than automation. Way more. That's really intelligence. Now, governance, I think, is an unexpected impact. AI absolutely transforms governance. Not the family charter, although technically, yes, it could do a hell of a job on that. not the voting structure, but could give some wonderful advice, but really actually how decisions are made. Most family offices actually have a governance problem disguised as an information problem. Decisions get delayed, sometimes not because people disagree, but because nobody has a complete picture when it's time to decide. It just slows things down. The investment team has one view, operations may have another, tax advisors have concerns, the legal team might have constraints. By the time everyone compares notes, which may be a week or several weeks later, you're not telling me that an opportunity is not gone. Again, the true definition really of governance is how decisions are made. So in that example, properly deployed, AI agents, even your own apps that you could create. If I did it, you could do it. Really more in vibe coding, but we'll save that for a different time. You could have something called decision readiness. When a major decision point arrives, the system has already synthesized all relevant information. It already pressure tested the decisions against your family's or your historical patterns. It flagged constraints, risks, and trade offs that were effectively how it was, let's go with the word coded and set up, and is monitored. And it already models scenarios. Like imagine European family, complex structure, multiple generations involved in decisions, a little more common in Europe, by the way. Spending weeks building consensus because no one trusted that they really had what they deemed to be all or the right information. Now, the AI governance system prepares, like I've even seen it structured as kind of decision packages. Now, way more complete context, all stakeholder perspectives, historical pattern analysis, clear options. The family still makes the decision because, yeah, that's sacred, of course, but they're making it with complete, often better and faster information. Possibly doing that in days as opposed to months. So their governance didn't get faster because uh, they cut people out. No, it got faster because they eliminated what effectively, another one of my keywords for tonight was information asymmetry. Now, let's kind of bring this all together. When I say that AI is creating a two-tiered system in family offices, as you now know, at least, I'm not just talking about private deal flow velocity, but that could be a lot of it for many of you. Public markets, operations, workflows, governance that I spent about the last 10, 15 minutes reviewing, sharing some examples and some context, because I think many of you get caught, and maybe I'm to blame for too many examples, do tend to be investing centric and more private company focused. It absolutely is much, much deeper than that. So the families deploying this, they aren't just faster. They're seeing things that you can't see. They're making decisions possibly while you're still gathering information. The velocity of speed coupled with better information, henceforth, you could do more with less. You could do more, at minimal, more, better, and faster. How about that? Maybe that's a better way to put it. They're operating at a different level entirely. So, yes, 6 months from now, as that becomes more of a mindset, more comfort in your team using it, compounding impact and effect, there will absolutely be two types of family offices. I don't care whether single or multi. There'll be some operating at 10x velocity across every function, effectively, again, doing more, better, and faster, period. And those that are still trying to build a future with kind of yesterday's playbook. Now, here's the part that's kind of hard to say, but it's true. If you're trying to figure this out alone, if you're Googling AI for family offices, if you're waiting, like I hinted earlier, for your consultant to deliver a white paper on next generation governance or AI integration, you're behind. The families that are winning are also not truly operating alone. They converted their isolation into really a shared intelligence, which is really at the heart of what I spent 20 years building. And I launched about a year and a half ago after selling Family Office Association in my private intelligence and strategy community, SFO Continuity. Now, what it really actually is, well, maybe I'm not clear enough. It's definitely not a conference or a networking theater. This is not content for content's sake. I don't like that. It's private intelligence, really a private intelligence network for principals and executives running sophisticated financial and family office systems. When you join, when you're a part, building up to 100 incredible global families, you get immediate access. And a couple of months ago, some of these things I couldn't say because they weren't ready. They're more than ready now. I referenced I would come back to the 850 question framework. Yeah, I wrote that. Torture, I know. I walked you through a little bit of it. Uh, it's a full diagnostic, every question, every pattern analysis, the benchmarking system. It's like 400 pages, my friends. You get my complete top 1% family office implementation system. Really, my entire 20-year methodology, governance architecture, deal flow optimization, talent strategy, where I'm very strong in, succession frameworks, and hey, I want to be the Peter Drucker of the family office world. So operations and systems. Everything I learned from especially over 100 billionaires into a high-level repeatable playbook. You get my knowledge of AI and AI agent frameworks, not theory, not just a white paper, what you do get an actual book, but the actual implementation system. Small teams, okay, massive capacity, how to deploy it, how to govern it, how to measure it. You get effectively a 12-month digital curriculum, monthly deep dives from first principles, way more deeper than benchmarking and best practices. Best practices are often backwards looking. First principles let you build forward. I mean, I think that alone is tens of thousands of dollars collectively. Now, it's much more than that. Although I think that would be, if I stop there and deliver on what I just said, that would be incredible. But here's what actually, along with that, really transforms your office. My quarterly masterclasses, they're not all AI family office. They're going to be more so next year. My sovereign risk and disaster preparedness AI and building or recrafting into a top 1% family office. I teach the frameworks. I have great faculty. I am talking in person here. No constraints, political dynamics, the things that I often can't even quite put in white papers. I do bi-monthly, so 6, often really 8 times a year, more intimate boardrooms and roundtables around the world, and love to pressure test your specific challenges with myself and peers managing similar complexity, succession planning, investing, sovereign risk, geopolitical, next-gen activization, co-investment structures, definitely AI transformation. These are conversations you can't have with your advisors. They either don't know what they don't know, they're going to be conflicted if they're current, they don't want to lose their money they're getting from you, and you can't have with your friends truly as a context. I also host private forums, incredible access. I have 2 programs, 5 days in Palm Beach this March coming up, and 3 days in New York in September. Yet you heard that right, 5 days in Palm Beach, beginning March 23rd, by the way. And I'll be at Art Basel, Miami. I have other programs, Miami and Palm Beach this winter as well. That's all bonus stuff. I'm not even mentioning that. You get answers from real families who are part of my group, including some deca-billionaires. I also host some soirees. I like to have a little bit of fun. These are just social around the Milken in LA, in Austria, in Mexico City, New York, and Miami, places I enjoy going and happen to be very connected. And you can't really reverse engineer this from the outside. So I really haven't dove deeply into what a member of my SFO continuity gets, like actually since February. I've mentioned it here or there, but I really haven't dove deeply into it. Now, as we're heading to the end of the year, I have an incredibly active 2026 coming up. I think it's important to bring it up. So, being a part of this, if I could be direct, you're not just paying $10,000 for content, 24/7 access to me, which like I think is worth it, but the peers, the programming. Stop making 7, 8, 9 figure decisions in the blind. You're really paying to collapse years, maybe 5+ years of trial and error into sometimes what, 5 conversations. You're paying to see the patterns you can't see from inside a single system. If I told you some of the families that were members, like you think you're bigger and more successful than them, you're probably not. Like that Texas family I mentioned with the $8 million in annual leakage, basically noted in one diagnostic. The European principal converted a G2 to a G3 in succession risk, something that could have fractured the family, that often does, more than investing, kind of into a governance upgrade that I gave them. The West Coast family that I referenced on deal valuation from what, 6 weeks to 6 days, same rigor, just 10 times the speed. The speed. This is not, yeah, sure, it's education and knowledge. I prefer to define it as it's decision arbitrage. Let me tell you perhaps who this isn't for. Maybe you're satisfied with maybe incremental improvements. In the past, a non-AI world that might have been acceptable, like, no, that's not going to work in today's world. And again, I think I said this earlier. If you can solve billion-dollar problems with Google and a mediocrity of a consultant, go for it. Then you're probably not ready. If you're optimizing for appearances instead of outcomes, then probably my room, as I would call it, is maybe not necessarily the best fit. If you're building as an entrepreneur, as a principal, as an executive, an SFO, an MFO, an entrepreneur on the rise, looking to build a dynasty and tired of making sophisticated decisions in an information vacuum. If you know that there are blind spots, but you can't see them, which is normal from inside your system, I have coaches. If you're done operating alone while other families are operating with shared intelligence, then let's talk. I mean, for some of you, it's an outreach and a scheduled whatever, or a non-scheduled 20-minute, 30-minute, 60-minute call. You want to turn it into a strategy session, let's go. Like, I'm fine with that. Confidential. I have families that, without even knowing me from the past, they go to the website and just sign up. But it's probably a bit of an in-between of that. I mean, I know that my family office playbook, that's where your family office is bleeding value. Those it really is 850 questions. They expose that and help to give you solutions to think through. The continuity framework that elite families are using to synchronizing, maybe that's what I'm looking for, synchronizing generations. And I know when it comes to AI, I am sorry. I have no competitors who could keep up with me in the family office world. And like I say, if I could do it, if I'm creating applications, vibe coding, AI agents, you could do it. You could do it. I said this earlier, maybe I'll slightly reposition it. The families inside my SFO continuity are not necessarily smarter than you. They just stopped trying to see around corners alone. I hinted earlier what 6 months could mean in mindset, in lost opportunity, especially the way that AI is just wow, and in the compounding effect. Like you may be 10 times behind a family that really is rocking it. Don't try to figure this out in isolation. The families that are making moves, they're already inside now. You have to make a decision what, I don't know if I'd say what side you're going to be on, but are these things that are going to be important to you? Again, I've been in the family office community for a long, long time. I'm kind of an old man. I'm 60 years old. Yeah, I still do about an hour and 20 minutes of workout every day. I have to counteract my cigar habit as well. And the world does sometimes judge you by your intellect, your vibrancy, your ability to put your best foot forward. And I always talk about, even when I talk to the rising generations in the family, like you need to be, very few of us are the best versions of ourselves. We may get close, but we could always get better. Like, isn't it good to feel that fire under your butt? To accept the fact that you're putting your ego aside, your ignorance and fears, and moving forward and learning, which is why I engage coaches, not just reading or subscribing to a digital class. I do all of that every month, but spending thousands of dollars learning from people, not even really in the family office world, just how to think for yourself, geopolitical issues, macroeconomics, getting the best out of myself. If I could get just a little better, I mean, we all know, my God, if I could get 1% better every week, compounded like that's like ridiculously well. Tiger Woods had a golf coach. Michael Jordan had Tim Grover. Uh, LeBron James, I could go on and on. Tom Brady. Man, am I probably, well, not with Michael Jordan, but I'm losing my international audience there mentioning NFL. Uh, I think you get the big picture. Stop trying to go this alone. You don't need to. You could walk away being part of something that I built. You get my 400 pages in the family office playbook. You get my 10 things to do with AI and family offices right now. And you get that third book that I referenced, really more so for entrepreneurs in your rising generation, but I didn't make an official announcement yet. And it's all done. It happens to be called Billionaire Mastermind. So there you go. You finally, after 10 of these in the last 2 weeks, you finally got the name of it out of me. And finally, I revamped my top 1%, creating or rebuilding into a top 1% family office. This winter, I'm going to wrap up my sovereign risk. I did a massive consulting assignment on that subject for one of the world's wealthiest families a couple of years ago. What I have now at my fingertips is 10x better than what I outputted was 4 years ago. I am so excited. I have massive amounts of content and resources, but could provide the context behind that. Yeah, I could share with you the 400 slides in creating a top 1% family office, and you got it, or we could walk through it. We could have context to it. We could break it down over the course of the year. You could be a part of the digital program with other families because they're going to think of questions that you didn't think of. And that's that power of the group intelligence, assuming the people in the group are somewhat intelligent. If they have a family office, even if they're a founding principal of a substantial MFO, a rising gen, a entrepreneur, a Gen 2, again, a decabillionaire family office, I mean, yeah, they're not morons, I guess I'll put it that way. There's just so much going on now. And yes, AI and AI agents do more, better, and faster, period. That's not going backwards. It will never be worse than it is today. But to those in the community that limit me only to that, and if that was the case, only that would be so incredible, I would easily still be worth the price of admission. But it's so much more than that. I've been in this community for decades. My family office playbook really barely even talks about AI. It's kind of me putting on my Peter Drucker hat, my Jim Collins hat, which I love. And really, when people were to, pin me against the wall, AI would probably come in number two. Structuring and practice management and getting better in your family office is still my number one passion in the world of wealth, finance, MFO, SFO. That's really where I shine. AI just helps augment that. And it is absolutely changing everything. And how slow the family office and the advisors and people around it, they are like, I feel like they're living in 1997. It's great for me, although some of you think I'm too far forward. I might be right, but my timeline's off. I'm 100% right. And no, I don't think my timeline's off. What, I'm off by a month or two? Who cares? I am more than directionally right, and I'm way more than just AI. But even if you forget me and my playbook and my books and my resources and my 400 slide PowerPoints and my digital masterclasses, you get the opportunity for the in-person program meeting these incredible people. Who else, beginning March 23rd, you got the week now, is doing parts of 5 days? No, of course they're not 9 to 5 at a hotel. That would be boring. Some of it's at a private home, a private setting, a welcome reception, more social and food and soiree-like, and tactical programming that's high quality, really, really high quality, not the stuff you see at most of the family office programs. And some of them are friends of mine, and they're well-meaning. Their model is hard to work when the families don't pay, and the only revenue they got is sponsors. What the hell do you expect? It's not their fault, it's your fault. Like, you expect to go there and hear good quality content. Like, you're kidding me. Of course not. They're squeezing every hour most dollars they could get from effectively sponsorship. That's a model that is very limiting in terms of the quality of the attendees and the interaction of the intellectual rigor and the core 3 or 4 subjects that we're talking about deeply, or at least I am. And then New York, I do September. I will be, and it's kind of up in my calendar section for events on angelorobles.com. I will be in Palm Beach doing a soiree, then a luncheon December 3rd and 4th. I'll then have a little bit of time Friday and over that weekend in Miami for Art Basel. Come on, jump in. Monday, January 26th, I'm doing a one-day program in coordination with another that I'll announce later in Miami at the beautiful Ritz-Carlton. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then my program, Real Palm Beach, all week, March 23rd. Then I segue a little bit into New York, then off to Milken in LA in early May, then New York and Greenwich, a little bit of Wyoming in the summer. I'll probably have a quick stop in Vegas for 3 or 4 days. There's a lot to do. 2026 is coming into view. And I got more and more deep content. And now that I did so much on content this summer and the fall, converting it into intellectual rigor, thought leaders, masterclasses, one-on-ones, like I got, me coming up with content is not a problem. And I have enough to probably honestly last for 2 or 3 years. But knowing how I am, of course, I'm always going to create content, proprietary content. Not saying I'm always right. Sometimes I swing and miss, but I love what I do. I'm obsessed by it. And come on board. Go to angelorobles.com. Stop holding back. The year is almost over. There's a lot coming up. It's a chance for you to lock in, become a member. Join something that's special. If not for me, for the incredible peers that are already a part of it and growing. Now, upcoming this week, this Wednesday and Thursday, November 5th and 6th, it's probably too late for most of you now because many of you don't make quick decisions. I still got my AI Family Office Masterclass. I could change everything for you. Me and my incredible faculty, Michael, one of my faculty members, worth a gazillion dollars, multiple 3x entrepreneur, is the best, deepest utilizer of AI of anyone in the world who I know. And he's right there to be your friend, to connect, to teach. Yet you still don't want to pull that trigger and join or be a part of it. We could squeeze in one or two more. So if you happen to hear this live or hear it maybe on Monday on one of my platforms, and by the way, there's multiple times in my career I jumped on something. I was on two planes in Oklahoma like 24 hours later. Now, I happen to really like Oklahoma, so that wasn't torture. But you got to do what you got to do to get an edge, to have an incredible year next year, to not be displaced by AI, but to be the master of it. I can't make you guarantees in 10 years. I kind of can make you guarantees leading up to then that you could be absolutely gainfully employed and valuable and increase your own net worth, because things may get a little funky when capitalism changes due to energy cost and labor production. We could save that for a deep geopolitical and societal discussion, but that is kind of years away. But these are all things that we talk about that others never touch in my SFO continuity. So you could still be a part this Wednesday and Thursday, November 5th and 6th in New York at my AI Masterclass. Jump in, be a member, get your invite. Just make it happen. Then I'll see you also in December. We got a busy winter, including in January through the first couple of months. You're going to get my top 1% family office, my massive 850 kind of questions checklist, and my family office playbook, and my other content. The edge that you're going to have to wrap up this year and to begin next year, it's going to be unmatched. Unmatched. Now is the time. Go to angelorobles.com, join, be a part of it. You could reach me via email at angelo@angelorobles.com. I guess that's pretty obvious. And like I always said, text, all good. I just have one phone, 203-570-2898. Now, live, I'm about 1 hour in, almost. A short one for me. Come on, you're talking to someone who's done 3 hours of this. I'm going to enjoy, I'm still thirsty, by the way. I am going to enjoy the remainder of Sunday Night Football, so American audiences know what I mean. And I do happen to have, I'm reaching for it now, a lovely, freshly rolled cigar from the Connecticut Cigar Company in Stamford, Connecticut. I greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you for giving me a little bit of a stockpile. I am going to go outside. Of course, I have to. It's a beautiful night, actually. Maybe after the game, enjoy a cigar, reflect on my very, very busy week upcoming. So you may not hear as much of me on the lives because, again, I got to prepare my open for my masterclass. I'm going to be in New York City multiple days. I want to make sure that's awesome. I then looks like I have to travel the week after that. And then we're not that far away from Thanksgiving, and I still have a lot of things to do and a lot of a consulting assignment that I still have to put a bow on. So I may be a little bit more quiet. The last 2 weeks, I've been like every day. So I may be a little more quiet the next 2 weeks, but you understand why. At the end of the day, I do got to serve my members as well. That's somewhat important in terms of what I do. And fielding incoming emails and questions and connections that they want and areas where I can listen and point them in the right direction, or sometimes just listen and say, I don't know the answer. Give me a couple of days. I'll get back to you. So on that note, everyone, I appreciate all of you. You know how to reach me at angelorobles.com. Thank you all so much. Allow me to watch a little football, enjoy my cigar, get up at about 5:15 in the morning. The early bird gets the worm. One of the advice that I give to young people when I talk to them, and there's a rare percentage that legitimately are late night people. So at the end of the day, you are what you are. But for most people, get the hell up early, early. You got to be hungry. You got to want it. You got to get up early. I would exercise, and then I would be rocking it by 6:30, 6:45. Just what's the biggest thing you have to do that day while the world is still kind of quiet? What could you get done while you're at your best intellectual functioning, probably through 9:30 or 10 o'clock? You could do the Pomodoro and take a 5-minute break every half an hour. I prefer more of a 10-minute break about every hour and a half, but hey, that's just me. And be really, really focused. What are your goals? And you don't stop until you do what you need to do. Speaking of players that I mentioned earlier, one of the coaches to LeBron James, I'm forgetting his name, so pardon me, but something to the effect of you have to want it. You have to be obsessed by it. So, you young entrepreneurs, I'm talking more to you now. How you consider breathing is how you consider to go and get what you need to get to make it happen. You get up early, you think smart, you put in the grind, you educate yourself, you never play the victim, you never make excuses, and you are relentless. Relentless. If you don't sleep, I know I'm giving terrible health advice. Sometimes you are going to get some 2 or 3 hour nights. I've had those too, even now at my current age. You need to be relentless going after your goals. There's smart, talented people out there. The competition is fierce, fierce, and it's getting harder every day. Do not make an excuse. Go and get things done. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful night. Look forward to our connection. And of course, you becoming a member. Thank you all so much.